Good morning and welcome to the quarterly board meeting. I'd like to begin by calling the meeting to order and asking that you please rise to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we've got a fairly packed agenda this morning, so I'm going to try to get through the board business as quickly as possible because I know a number of you want to talk about the Activity and Wellness Center. So with that, the first item on the agenda is the board approval of the last quarterly board meeting minutes, which was on March 14th, 2022. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The meeting minutes are approved. And the second vote that needs to take place this morning is a board vote on the proposed changes to the board policies manual. Those were shared with the membership on April 29th, and the changes apply specifically to the financial reserve funds and reserve balances section of the board policies manual. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. You know, they need to give me a gavel so I could go approved and then we move on. Okay, so just briefly before we start to talk business, I just wanted to announce our 3 incoming board of directors. Donna Aiken-Coleflesh, who could not be here today. Ann Sanders, please stand up, and Bob McGinnis. I didn't say you could sit down yet. So we'll talk more about them at the annual meeting, but I just wanted to welcome them and thank them for their willingness to serve. Ann is currently on the Judicial Committee, Bob is currently on the Finance Committee, and Donna is the current chair of the Strategic Planning Committee. So again, thank you. You brave souls. And now I'll turn it over to Jim for the GM report.
Thanks, Mary. I'm going to make my hopefully report somewhat quick today since we have a lot on the agenda. Thankfully, right now, we do have no employees out with COVID-19. We are fully staffed. Everybody is showing up to work, so that's good. I just want to also thank, she was in here just a little bit ago, Mary Richmond, who's our events coordinator. She's been really doing a good job the last couple months with filling in the clubhouse area. So I thank her for her efforts, and the rest of the staff obviously as well. Hopefully you've all seen the July 3rd advertisement that's went out. We are hoping to have a great turnout at Lake Atagahi for the July 3rd event, which is a Sunday. We're having, unfortunately, we've had some change of entertainment because some of them have had some family issues and sicknesses and so forth. So that's a moving target, but it will be from 11 a.m. till 5 p.m. You can come and go as you please for that. And it is pretty much complimentary. We are selling bands for the beer, wine, and ice cream sandwiches, but everything else as far as the food will be free. So we encourage you to all come out and enjoy that event somewhat during the day on Sunday the 3rd. What else do we have going on? On security, we are required to have a security update on an annual basis, and we normally do that this time of year. So on our year-to-date incidents are as follows, and hopefully most of these are 0, which is good. These are all anything that's been either reported directly to us or reported to the county sheriff. So we've had 0 assaults, 0 break-ins, 0 thefts. We've had 6 construction after-hour complaints. We've had 3 gates get hit where they snap off. I don't know how that happens, but it continues to happen.
All members.
That's right. Lights after 11 p.m. We've had 5 of those. Littering, 3 complaints. Loose pets, 8. Noise complaints 11, open burning 2, parking violations 9, resident assistance, which is when someone calls the rover and we have to help for whatever reason. It is normally, it's unfortunately when someone gets a little discombobulated and lost and we have to help them find their way home. We've had 20 of those so far this year. Scene of smoke 4, speeding complaints 14, citations for speeding 4 have been issued. Suspicious individuals and or vehicles 24, trespassing 2, unlocked doors, which means the doors in the common areas that may be unlocked. That's happened twice. We've done 17 wellness checks where people have called who have family members at their home here and having trouble reaching them. And then we've had 7 injured and or dead wildlife as well. So that's our security update year to date through the month of May. From a financial perspective, I know Jim will go in a little bit in, but just from a month to date through May, we were $14,000 better than budget for the month, and year to date, we're about $46,000 better than budget. Obviously, the inflation and payroll pressure continues. Pricing of everything continuing to go up, but we have been able to manage that pretty efficiently. So management and employees are doing a good job trying to keep all the costs in line. Lot sales within the association have slowed down a little bit as far as what I call the lots that are buildable. We are getting quite a bit of interest still in lots next to people that already have a home that are not very buildable or unbuildable lots, and they're just purchasing those to combine them with their lots. We're still having some of that activity. Management and staff have begun the budgeting process. Believe it or not, it's not even July yet. We're already starting the budget for 2023, which will be interesting to determine if anyone's a genius and knows what's going to happen in the economy. Please let me know so we can have a better job doing that. We'll talk about A&W later, obviously. The pickleball courts, hopefully they'll be back today. They put the first coat of sealer on the pickleball courts, and that has to set for a few days before they can put the next coats on, but they're supposed to be back today to start putting the fence up. You probably saw on your way here, we're restriping the roads. We've done quite a few of the roads already. We're doing the main roads today with the yellow line, and that will continue probably for the next couple of weeks because we have 55 miles of road to stripe. But it does look quite a bit better. So that is my report for today so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, you said free ice cream on the July 3rd event?
Nope, you got to buy the ticket.
Okay.
$10. $10. It gives you all the beer,
I heard
wine.
free. I said
Yeah.
free ice cream?
For $10, you can drink all the beer, drink all the wine, and have all the ice cream sandwiches.
Okay. Sounds like a deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to Jim Ongaro for a quick financial update.
I don't have a lot to add besides what Jim just mentioned. Can you turn the microphone on and move it closer to your mouth? Sorry. Hello, can you hear me? No?
Just got to get closer. Try the one new one.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
I don't have a lot to add besides what Jim just mentioned. The financial status of the community is in good shape as we move into next year, where we will have a lot of, thank you. We will have some challenges for the budget next year, knowing what's happened in the economy now with inflation and whatnot. I'd like to update you in that we have requested an update of the reserve study. We just have some preliminary information in on that, and that, of course, will have to be taken into account when we work on the budget this year. But other than that, that's about all we have. There's no significant changes in the financial condition of the community at this time.
Thank you, Jim. Robert, whenever you're ready, we'll give you an update on the board initiatives. All right, great. So the agenda for the board initiatives is we'll give a brief update on the brand marketing, and I'm going to have Janet present that to you. Then that will be followed by a general Q&A. So we ask that if you have specific questions regarding the Activity and Wellness Center and pool enhancement proposal, to please hold them until after we begin the Activity and Wellness Center chat with the board. All right. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Janet.
Good morning. I think quite a few of you are aware that Conisty is going through a rebranding process. Is anyone here that's new to that and unaware of what we're doing, that we have a new logo? We did focus groups to better understand what the identity of Conisty Falls is to the people who live here and the people who live in the surrounding area. So I'm going to assume you're all up to speed on this. No, you're new?
Speed on that if you would. My name's Chris Boyd. If you're ready, you can bring us up to speed.
Okay, Chris.
Effectively rebranding, honestly.
Yes, yes. And I'm going to go through some materials that'll give you some visuals about this. But last August at the annual meeting, we presented a new brand look and a new brand voice for Conisty Falls. Through focus groups, we learned that one of the most important things about Conisty to those who come to live here is our natural environment, our natural beauty. Some of the quotes were things like, I wake up in the morning and I feel like I live in a national park. Hiking trails, all the things that allow us to enjoy being outdoors are very important. So it's not just golf as an amenity of why people come here. Golf is important, but it's not the only thing that's important about the amenities at Conisty Falls. So that's where we're expanding the identity, the character of Conisty to reflect. And that's it in a nutshell. And I can give you a link to the whole branding video to bring you up to date.
Does that include the cost?
Does that include the cost? No, it does not. Yes, ma'am.
Would it be possible to have the cost included for the rebranding issues? Cost and also.
It's, actually it's an operational budget line, and that line has not changed very much at all. And it's all in the operational budget. So if you go to the 2022 budget, you look for the marketing line item, and that's what we've budgeted. The same will go forward in 2023. And we have not escalated spending in any way. We've worked very diligently to stay within budget parameters that Jim has the ability to control and the board has the ability to approve. Did you want?
Yeah, just to make it, to simplify a little bit too. So historically, we've spent $125,000 a year is in our budget for marketing. And that has not changed over the last 4 or 5 years since I've been here. I think it may have been 100,000 a few years back, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So we still try to work within that same scope of budget.
Could we please let Janet go through her presentation? Please just hold your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do a Q&A afterwards, if that's all right. But I did start it, Mary. I did ask a question of the group.
No, I know.
It is my fault.
I know, but you'll never get through it.
I know, I understand. So we will go back to the questions, okay? Robert, if you could go to the next slide, please. So where we are is we are rolling out the refresh brand in July, and we are on schedule. That's been our target since the beginning of the year. Now, does that mean that everything has come off as clockwork? No, but we are going to make it happen. It may happen staggered, not all at once as it would happen in the perfect world. If we were Federal Express, we'd run all those trucks out of the airport hangars all at the same time, but we can't. So we have new signage, as you probably have all noticed. There are things happening at the East Fort Gate and the front gate. A lot of speculation about what's happening there. We have a new public website that will be rolling out, and we'll soon follow by a redesigned member site. We're trying to improve design, navigation, and content. So we also have new brochures coming out and posters representing the new look of Coniston. We will have a new look for Friday Flyer, Coniston Falls News, Clubhouse News, and so forth, okay? Integrating everything. We also will have new merchandise available in the Pro Shop, hats, shirts, all the typical items, but not just for golfers. There's going to be interesting stuff there for everybody. And employees, apparel, name tags, and so forth will also be changed. So some of the new signage that you're going to see in the lower right-hand corner, we will have the new clubhouse sign, very clean and up to date. On the left-hand side will be a big sign that will be on the outside of this wall. And then, of course, the golf shop sign, which hangs, I think, right over the entrance door to the golf shop. Now, the big reveal, before we do it, Robert, don't change it yet. Let me ask you, pop quiz. In the Blue Ridge Mountains, what's one of the most common elements? Penguins. No. Ray, it's not cold enough here. The Parkway is one of them, but what's the Parkway sitting on?
Mountains.
Which are made of rocks. Okay. Just keep that in mind. Robert, if you go to the next slide. At the front gate, now this is not actual reality yet, as you have observed, but what you're going to see at the front gate is signage similar to this. We are creating mountain landscapes with a natural element, rocks, and the sign will be made of Corten steel, which is a beautiful steel. Over the years, it will bring on a patina of that sort of rusty brown, very natural look. Now, when it first goes up, it's probably going to be more dark gray. Popping off of that are going to be metal letters spelling out Coniston Falls, and then stenciled into the steel is the new logo. And one more slide, Robert. At nighttime, we'll be lighting from the ground, but also behind the letters and behind the logo with soft LED lighting. And at the East Fork Gate, the sign will be much more noticeable than it used to be when it was way off on the side. Did anybody know that sign has been gone for months? Okay, thank you. You didn't hit it, did you? No. Yes. Yes, we were. But it was wood, so there's a limit to that. So this will be the East Fork Gate. Now, come around to the new budget year, we will address the Walnut Hollow Gate. We are developing posters for Coniston, pieces of artwork that depict the different special places within our community. This is a series of 4 that we'll bring out this year. We're going to have some custom work done and have these posters hung in the clubhouse here. And I think we're also going to be probably printing smaller versions, more like a theater size, that people can purchase if they like for their homes or to send as a gift. But these are original to Coniston. No one else has them. You know, you can see the symbolism here of all these special places within the community. Our new website, fresh, colorful. We've been working really hard on collecting a library of our photography, our videos depicting what it's like to live here. They're going to be appearing on the website on both member and public. On the public site, we have some video vignettes that I'd like to share with you today. The first one that you'll see is an excerpt from the brand marketing video that we presented back in August. The second is a vignette of one of our club's organizations. And the third is also a short video story of one of our clubs and organizations. So take about 5 minutes and we'll run through these. One more slide? What? Okay, sorry.
The goal of the Conisty Falls brand is to define further and maintain what makes Conisty Falls unique. So how did we get here? We talked with people, a lot of them. The majority of respondents indicated the identity of Conisty Falls is intrinsically connected to its location in the beautiful mountains of Western North Carolina. Here are some of the voices we heard.
I love the lakes. The lakes are why I choose to live here.
It's like stepping out each morning into your very own private national park.
With the amount of activities and things to do and people with common interests, you have an instant network of friends. It's really the people that make this place so wonderful.
I've heard people talk about how you can be as social or not social as you want to be. It's large enough and expansive enough. You can be quiet and go for a walk with your dog, or you can join a group and be very social. It has the best of both worlds.
We're like a small city. We have a diverse population with different interests, opinions, and worldviews.
Environmental stewardship is the #1 issue. People don't move here for golf first. They move here for the beauty, the lakes, the hiking, and the forest.
Even though we are fortunate to be surrounded by an unbelievable natural environment, it is the people that make our community a warm and welcoming place. This feel is what helps people fall in love with Conisty Falls the first time they enter and upon their return each and every time.
Here are some insights into what resonates with our residents. Connections are important. Connection to the natural mountain beauty. Connection to the natural mountain beauty that is Conisty Falls was overwhelmingly the first point of identity, and with all respondents established the community as its sense of place. Connection is critical to residents, realtors, and developers in terms of technology infrastructure, while the privacy, seclusion, and natural oasis of Conisty Falls are what draw people in. Therefore, the availability of high-speed internet, fiber optic, and wide cell coverage that allows for outside connection is paramount. Connection with nature through natural assets and recreational opportunities is a critical component of the Conisty Falls brand. Connection to others, whether socially through activities, friendships, shared interests, or the community's overall vibrant volunteerism base, has created a sense of commitment to one another and the greater community. Connection with the property is a part of a wider region with its cultural traditions, history, people, arts, and craft is integral to understanding what makes Conisty Falls unique.
So there's a slice of things to come. And I'd like to give a shout out to all the volunteers here in Conisty Falls, including the trail builders. We would not have such beautiful 20 miles worth of trails if it weren't for the trail builders and the trail stewards. But that is not to say that they are more important than any of our other volunteers. And the board and the association wants to say thank you to all of you.
We'll do it. We'll repeat the question.
Yes, Madam President.
So with that, we will open it up to the Q&A session of the board meeting. We ask that you please use the microphone to ensure that everyone who is online can hear the question clearly,
Or I can repeat them. Might be
or
easier.
Jim can repeat them if you're not comfortable going to the microphone.
Hello, my name is Lorna McMullen.
Microphone.
Hello? Sorry, not used to this. Anyway, my name is Lorna McMullen, and I have been in charge of the main gate gardening for the last 3 years. Of course, we on our team were really upset to see all the hard work of the last 3 years go down the drain. And this included lots of time, effort, and money. And we were not given any notice. But Larry Rourke, he's Lorraine Rourke's husband, and she's in charge of beautification. And he called me last night and asked if I would read this letter. Is that okay? I shortened it, you know.
Yeah, we know Larry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you guys do. Okay, so I was asked to read this letter, and here it is. This community has a solid core of volunteers who, like yourselves, provide considerable amount of time and energy to manage this community on behalf of the residents. We thank you for your efforts. Larry states that his main issue is this: the community did not know the details relative to new signage and the impact of each of the entrance gates until recently, and even that is very limited. There is a large group of beautification committee volunteers that dedicate their own time, own dollars, and labor to provide colors to the gardens from the community from early spring into the fall each year. No one from the board communicated these gate plans, and initially only due to written questions by the team leader. Only after most of the gardens had already been planted and cleaned up did any information become available. The committee was provided a time frame that would allow the plants to bloom through the summer, since the probable start date was, quote, July, and probably not for a couple of months after. Numerous written questions to the board asking for clarification were not forthcoming with responses until recently, and we still have no information on plans moving forward. Maybe today we got some answers on what it would look like, but only today, as far as I know. 1 week's notice was provided, and what happened to the July or later start? The group just finished planting the flowers during the month of May. Still no info has been shared on what these areas will look like until now, or the impact of future flowers. There's a general perspective that the board does not want any flowers or color at the main entrances. If this is the strategy, don't you think these plans should have been shared with the entire community? More importantly, to leave the beautification committee totally in the dark. If the May landscaping work was done professionally, they would have already been paid within weeks. And where was your fiduciary responsibilities here? What will be done for the volunteers? This all boils down to a total lack of communication in a timely manner, and miscommunication at that. This is not what we expect from our board members, and maybe some future communication guidelines should be embedded into our policy manual to prevent anything like this in the future.
So, I've apologized numerous times on this, and it is, you and I've emailed back and forth, and I said I'd more than happy to meet with you and give you an opportunity to discuss what we do going forward. And you said you'd like to meet and do that. Would you?
Well, I would like to, I mean, are we gonna have any say in the flowers that?
Yes.
they're all destroyed?
Right. So the story of how this played out is correct, is some of what you're saying. So when I last talked to Lorraine Rourke at the end of the year, give or take, the plan was that the gates were not probably going to get done in the signage until late September, potentially October, because of the supply chain issues that we have. We got a call sometime mid-May that, wait a second, we got all this, we were able to get all the supplies, get all the materials, and we can start earlier. And we can probably have them done in July. I chose, as the manager of the community, to say we'd rather go ahead and get them done now and not take the chance that if we wait till September, October, we have another issue. As soon as I got that information that we're going to potentially start in July, I met with Lorraine Rourke at both gates, and we discussed the issue of where we think the potential for which plants will probably be impacted. At East Fork, I knew it would only be the front ones. At Main Gate, I said pretty much because of the way the rocks are going to have to come in here, pretty much most of this is going to have to come out. I don't know what to say there, except that we had to take the opportunity at the time to take advantage of, the materials and a contractor's ability to start earlier. But we did meet, and I met with Lorraine Rourke at both gates, and we discussed it. As a matter of fact, there you go. So I met with Lorraine, I think on Thursday or Friday, when we discussed the Main Gate. When I came to work Monday morning, half the stuff was already out. So obviously she talked to somebody.
Well, what we did was we were hoping to save the plant. We gave a
Right.
lot of us to the plant sale.
Right.
And we dug out 30 plants.
Mhm.
And Jenny Messmer, she said she has a deer-proof yard. She said we could keep them there. But I only thought that the sign was changing. I didn't know about the rock.
Right. Yeah. So,
Well, and so anyway, then it was communicated, okay, okay.
So anyway, we dug out about 30 plants trying to save them. And we put them in Jenny Messmer's backyard. She has a deer-proof fence. So, but we thought that there was just going to be a new sign. I didn't know about all the rocks. And so then when I did communicate with you, you said it was going to be like 4 or 6 weeks to cure the cement and everything. And it was determined that that was too long to try to save those plants because it was too much work on Jenny. So we did all that for nothing.
So, and in the communication with, and I don't want to point finger, it is what it is at this point, but we also said that our maintenance crew would take out all the plants and dig them out and have them available for someone to pick up if they wanted to do that. That Monday morning we came in, half of them were gone already.
Well, that was never communicated to me.
Okay. I was communicating through the leader, of saying that's who I met with. And that was discussed. And I believe even the communication that was sent to us from her, we communicated that to her. And we also said that we would replant it. We would plant all the new materials as well. So the volunteers wouldn't have to do that, but, offering as well, like I did to you, to say, hey, let's meet and we can discuss what we want to do here as far as plants go. But we would do the work to help alleviate some of those issues. But,
So Lorna, I just wanted to say, on behalf of the board, I apologize. I know this caused everyone a lot of grief. That was never the intention. As Jim pointed out, when the labor is available and, the timing is such, it is unfortunate. And, please don't take it that we do not value the hard work and effort of every volunteer, this community wouldn't be what it is without everyone.
I think that's just what we needed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I apologize for any miscommunication. Yes, ma'am.
Conisty recently,
Can you just give your name, Renee? I know who you are, but yeah.
Avery, Conisty recently hired a fiduciary investment advisor. Can you tell us who they are, how they were vetted, and how often we're going to be receiving reports from the new advisor?
Jim, did you want to take that?
The advisor is Beacon Point. They have a local office in Asheville. The local office recently merged with Beacon Point, who is a national financial advisor. We are in contact with them on a monthly basis. We have access to our investments, and they will be reported and included in the financial statements on a monthly and quarterly basis. Beacon Point. Beacon Point, BEACON. They have an internet site and you can find the information out about them.
Okay. Hi, my name's Patty. We're new residents to Conisty, and we have done absolutely nothing to help the community because we still work. So I just want to say thanks to all you people who do all this volunteer work. We appreciate it as new residents, and we really enjoy living here. But I have questions about your rebranding, because we did just buy a house here, and I have my first question is, what's the purpose of the rebranding? Is it to bring new residents and new homeowners to the community?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I don't have a mic.
I mean, just the general overall goal.
Yes.
Understand that I spend most of my life doing sales and marketing and focus groups and all that stuff. So.
Okay. And is this working? Hold on. I'm so sorry, ma'am.
Here, use this one.
Thank you. Yes, I've been in marketing for 20 plus years myself, so I appreciate your questions. And it's Patty?
Yes.
Okay. The rebranding purpose started.
Marketing or branding, what's the goal?
Well, it depends on the type of business that you are. So let me speak to why Conisty is rebranding. Several years ago, Strategic Planning Committee was working on the strategic plan, and in conversation, it became very apparent to those on the committee that no one saw Conisty Falls as the same thing. Some people saw it as a retirement community. Some people saw it as a golf community. Some people saw it as it's just a beautiful place to live. So there wasn't a real solid identity. Ultimately, the goal is that when people come to live here, they will know what they're buying into.
So the goal is to get people to come here. Oh, the overall general goal.
Overall general goal is have people come here and make sure that the people who are here are understanding what the community is about and what the strategic priorities are of the
Okay.
community.
Okay. So to me, it's multifaceted.
Oh,
One,
absolutely.
get people to buy a house and move here.
Mhm.
Two, the people who are already here, for them to know of the opportunities that are available to them. And I can't remember what the third one was. Anyhow, when you said you did focus groups,
Mhm.
said you did focus groups of people who already live here and of people in the.
Mhm.
So if your goal is to get people to move here, don't you need to do a focus group of people who don't already live here and who don't live in the community to find out what would entice them to come here and buy a property?
We have also, in addition to those focus groups, we also have years of data accumulated from new buyers who have just come in, like yourself. Why did you come here? And also current homeowners. What are your priorities? What do you value most?
Right.
Okay, so we combined all that. Yes, if we wanted to go to California and do focus groups, if we thought that was a great target market for us, absolutely. We don't have the budget to
I don't know
advertise
who
in
your
California.
target market is.
Our target market is people who value the same things that we value here in Coniston.
That's not a target customer.
It's a lifestyle that people are looking for. If we were looking, if you want to do a psychographic or a demographic target, we can do that. It's people, what are you asking for, sir, then?
The needs-based customer segment.
Okay, we got to use the microphone.
So that's my question. To me, as somebody who just bought in Coniston at the top of the market, everything that's here, which we totally enjoy and we totally appreciate, we didn't even know it was here. Didn't pay attention. Didn't ask questions. It was, I need a house. I need it in a gated community that's safe. And so all I'm asking is to me, this is just my opinion. It's not a, I want you to do this. I'm saying, if one of the major goals is to get people to come here and either buy an existing home or sell, buy a lot and build a home, then to me, you need to be asking people who don't already live here or in the community.
Well,
I would be asking realtors in the metro area, what are people looking for?
We did.
That's my opinion.
That was a
I appreciate your opinion.
Right. The
I will-
realtors were focus group, by the way. The realtors was a part of the
Yes, the
focus group.
realtors were in the focus groups. And again, let me reference those people that have not had the opportunity to see the presentation that was made at last year's annual meeting. If you will go to the member website and go to the board section, you will find a link to the video recording of the annual meeting, as well as, of the entire meeting, as well as a link to the video that was presented about the brand. And if you would watch those, we would love to get your feedback. But to try to go that far back today is a little bit challenging and maybe a bit more time than others want to sit for today. But let me correct one thing that you said. Our primary goal is not to attract new buyers. That is not a primary goal. That is one of the goals. But a goal also is to help people who do buy here understand what Coniston Falls values as a community. And that will help buyer satisfaction, resident satisfaction, because you know what to expect when you come here, if that helps. So thank you. If you would go to the website and take a look at that.
Hi, Andy Mack.
Got to get closer.
I still think it's important to understand and define who your targeted customer segments are.
Yeah, let me go. It's on. You got to have it right club. There you go.
I think it's important to understand your targeted customer segments so you can refine your communication to them very specific to their needs. Are we trying to go after retirement individuals, people near retirement, young families? They have their needs. So what are we trying to be as a community that focuses the refreshed brand and the communication on those people, whether we're trying to attract them or make sure they understand what they just bought?
Andy, those are all very good points. And we do have a marketing plan, and we have broken out the demographic and the psychographic targets.
So who are we targeting?
Well, we can tell you who the majority of who you're targeting. I mean, the reality is your buyer here is going to be somewhere between 57 and 65, whether we like it or not. They're going to be, they're going to have an income of over 100,000 probably. They're going to be white, and they're going to be college educated. And we've had this discussion, and some of this was discussed in communicate or discussions were what in the marketing guide, what do you want to put there? Because people were saying, well, if you say you're looking for college educated, are you sounding, higher up than other people and so forth. So you got to be careful how you exactly say it. But that really is our target, whether you like it or not.
And another dimension of that is where are they? Because if you're trying to communicate to people that you want to move in, even if that's only one of the objectives, it goes to how do you reach them? Whether it's over the internet or a billboard on Nashville highway, which I think is a waste of money.
Well, you do know, we also know that majority of our new residents come from Florida. So why is that, right? Because Florida has the highest number of people 55 and older, right? And they're buying second homes, right? Right.
So are we?
And the cool weather, yeah, really?
Advertising in Florida.
Right.
That's the question.
Yeah. Well, we haven't even started marketing plans yet as far as where we're going to actually market. Right.
So beyond the refreshment of the brand,
move that up.
And the collaterals, I'm interested in the marketing plan that actually reaches the people we're trying to talk to.
Correct.
Beyond trying to make me happy because I'm a resident.
Right. No, I hear what you're saying.
And
Those are the next steps that we're working on now.
And
Correct.
if I can add to that, please, too, for expectation standpoint, Andy, we don't have the budget to be advertising in Florida. So what we can do, though, is make ourselves well-known in this area. And as people come to this area, there's an awareness of Conisty Falls. For $125,000, $200,000, whatever that number is for a marketing budget, from your experience, I'm gathering, that we cannot put a dent in Florida.
You have to choose.
Right.
So one of the things that we could do more cheaply is search engine
Right.
optimization.
Yes.
In the searches, when someone says North Carolina pickleball communities, does
Right.
Conisty Falls show up? Does it show up? I have in the past and it didn't. It might now, or tennis or golf or whatever.
Let us
Right.
go ahead and let us know. If
Okay.
you write, Andy, if you would write us a letter, that would be helpful.
I'm waiting for it.
Talk right into
In that main,
Name, please.
my name is Chuck Walsey. In the main video you showed, there was nothing about golf. There was nothing about pickleball. There was nothing about tennis. There was only environmental, and we are not just an environmental.
I agree. And I picked 3 video clips out of a dozen.
Yeah, we have golf. We
There
have
are-
golf
there-
ones. Right. We have golf one, pickleball. We have a general one, another general one that shows all that as well. That's only like 3 minutes. Wait, right? Did you have a question earlier? Ms. Vicker, did you raise your hand earlier or no? No?
Jim, to your left.
Okay. Nope, just talk. You should be able to talk right into it, I hope.
Hi, my name is Kurt Waldhausen. I have a couple of questions. The first question is when you presented the slideshow, you had a page of how you're going to slide in to the different aspects and when you're releasing different components of the rebranding. Quite frankly, I would have expected that each of these components would be accompanied by a date. That would be the professional way of going about it. Like by what date is the website open? By what date is this open? By what date is that open? So that was missing. I don't accept that. That's not professional. Number one. Number two, I want to ask our fearless general manager what the qualifications are of board members. Is there a clear written sheet of paper that spells out what the expectations are? And if so, I think that should be circulated. And number two, what are the qualifications to become a board member? Or can anybody who has good friends and knows a lot of people become a board member? So these is another question. Number three, I had a very intense communication with the board on cleaning up the mess at the boat parks. They looked like, I mean, you're talking about attracting new people. I mean, if you show them the mess you had, it would turn off people. But now, then when we asked for a boat ramp, there were no decals. It took 9 months to get the decals. People were requested to apply the decals. I took a look around. 50% of the boats, is my estimate, don't have new decals applied. Are they paying the fees? How many boats do we have? How many decals are we selling? These are all unattended issues, which are totally unacceptable. And I really have problems because everywhere I look, there's issues and unaddressed problems. So I wonder how qualified the board is. Number 3, we have 2 pontoon places on Lake Atagahi. Nobody knows who owns them. I requested to find out who owns them. I was denied the information. I applied that I wanted to rent one of these docks. I was told they are gone for 20 years. Don't worry about it. I said, under what conditions were they assigned to the current users of the docks? It was kept secret. The dock owners pay the same amount of yearly fee as do the pedalboard people, although the space they use is 3 times the price. Nobody wants to volunteer information who paid for the docks. Nobody wants to volunteer information why these docks are not coming up for rent every so often. I mean, this is a disaster, this whole thing. This is people who have friends in high places get what they want. You should be ashamed of yourself. Thank you.
Jim, I'll let you answer after I have the opportunity to answer. So good morning, Craig. Thank you for your questions. I'm going to try my best to answer a number of them, but first I'd like to start with, on behalf of myself and the board, each of us volunteer our time and we each act in a respectful, professional manner at all times. That's number 1. And I respectfully disagree with you bringing forth the fact that this is a disaster and we're all unprofessional, but let me not go off on a tangent. So to answer your question, anyone can run for the board. There are, on the website, there's specific roles and responsibilities of what each of the board members are responsible for, from the president to the vice president to the secretary and to the treasurer. Each of us bring a different set of professional experience and talents. I think really more or less one of the main goals when you get onto the board is that you should be a collaborator, and, people want to work with people that, have the ability to bring people to the table, have the wherewithal to figure out what the community wants, how to maintain what we have, and how to look for the future. So that's really open to anyone. My salary as board president is $0. And like many of the other volunteers, we give a lot of hours to try to make this community a little bit better than when we found it. And by all means, if you feel strongly about certain things that aren't getting done, I encourage you to volunteer as well. And then one last thing, please. Pardon?
I think we should just, let's just move on.
Okay, so, and one last thing, there's a difference between what the board's responsibilities are versus the general manager. So the general manager, and we are very lucky to have Jim as our general manager, manages the day-to-day operations of this almost 4,000 acre estate. The board primarily is responsible for 2 things: policy and governance. So there's a clear distinction between when something happens out on the street or somebody calls security, that's not necessarily a board matter. That's day-to-day operations. So I would encourage you, if you have questions or concerns, as you have in the past, to continue to write into CFPOA, and we will all collectively do everything that we can to resolve those issues. Jim, did you have anything you wanted to add? All right. Thank you, Craig.
Close to your mouth there.
Hi, my name's Patty Paratori, and I've lived here since 2018. And I really love the community. I think the board does a really good job. I think that we have great volunteers. To get back to the discussion we were having about the target community for the new signage, I'm ashamed to ask this question, but it's really upsetting to me that you said that our target community is a white community.
I understand that, but I'm saying that if you're in the marketing scenario, that's what, that is what demographically they'd say that's going to be 95% of your community, whether.
So that means
I'm not saying
there's,
I'm not saying I like that or dislike it. I'm just saying that's just a reality currently.
You
That's
said
where we're
that
at.
was the target community. All
I'm
right.
saying, no, I'm saying if you were marketing and spending marketing dollars, who would you be marketing towards?
A
That was the
biracial
question.
community is who I would be marketing to. I have my
Right,
best
I don't
friends
disagree with
wanna
you.
move here.
Right, I don't disagree. I'm saying from
And
a
now I have to tell them, don't.
no, that's not what I said, but anyway. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of white faces in here.
Okay. Let's go.
Can we give it to Sue back
Wait,
there?
wait a sec. This gentleman's next.
Not trying to start an
No,
argument.
I know,
It just
right.
Really hit me the wrong
Right.
way.
I apologize that it hit you that way. I didn't mean it. There was no intent there. I was just saying that is what the market, if someone said you had $800,000 to target to who you would target to, that would mean whatever, whether you're going to advertise in this magazine versus that magazine versus this channel versus that channel. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you won't know because there's nobody biracial in what you're showing on the screen to us. It's all, but thank you.
Yeah. Nope. Yes, sorry. I got it. She's going to respond, I think, to the same question. So I just want to make sure.
I'm glad you asked that question because it's a legitimate one. And I could see the way you responded, how that could be taken in the wrong way. Please tell your friends to come. It is difficult sometimes to be one of you. So we're trying to get more diversity, but it is difficult. When I watch that video, first of all, for the board, y'all are doing a kick-ass. We've been here for 7 years. I mean, it just, like any family, we all have issues, but you guys are volunteering and putting up a lot of time, and we do appreciate that. The one thing I would say about the videos is if you could get a little bit more representation in those videos, it would really go towards telling people that it's okay to come in here, that people aren't going to call someone on you, that life is going to be okay, but that you're going to be welcome here. And it goes, the first step is that video, which is the first thing we're going to see on our website every time. So that's what I have to say about that. And yes, I'm alone. I wish there were more people like me. I want to say thank you to those who have made me feel welcome. But I would like to see us be able to approach and expand the number of people that look like me here.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Sue.
Keep it close to your mouth. It should be on.
Yeah, my name is Mike Fannin Steele and been here since, bought in 2018. Last year, there were several updates about a cell tower.
Yep.
That was supposed to be completed by the end of the year.
Yep.
And I haven't seen a recent update. I was wondering if you could let me know what that is.
Yep. I actually had that in my report and I dropped it out. So unfortunately, we are still under contract with a tower leasing company. We have another one actually talking to us now because the lease is potentially expiring on the other one. It's an option lease. So we're talking to another tower company now to see if they might have some more potential pull. Because really the reality comes down to is they need to have 3 providers on the tower signed up before they'll build the tower. So the update is there really is no update. It's just sort of in there in limbo. Whether switching to another company would help or not, that's really the discussion right now, whether they think they have the little bit more clout to pull some of the only one who's really committed to a location here is Verizon. T-Mobile actually is going the other way. They actually had a site over in Penrose on one of the towers that they took down. So if you have T-Mobile, that's probably why it's gotten worse for you. But they're just spending so much money on the 5G rollout, they're just not building towers right now. So, okay. Yeah.
Just. Yeah, it's on. Okay. I just wasn't clear on when you guys do plant. Are you guys going to plant the flowers and install them, or?
Yes. All right. So like I said, I am offering to meet with you and you and I can discuss it, and then we'll discuss a plan and go from there. Yep. Okay. Sorry. Let me, yes.
When we were in Durham, actually, they had cell towers that looked like pine trees.
Right. Correct.
But just, I don't know whether those are.
Yeah. We've looked at,
like,
we've looked at those, and some will say they look okay. Some say when you stick them in the middle of forest, it makes it look worse. So it's hard to say. All right. One more. How many more questions?
Chuck Walsey, I have one question. What's going on with the wellness center and how?
We're trying to get to that. Yeah, we're trying to get to that. That'll be in a second. We're trying to get to that. One more question. Hello, Emily.
Linda Heisong. I've been here a long time, and I want to thank everybody for all volunteer work, and I want to thank the board. The one thing that I do want to ask is, when will the sign be done? Because nobody knows where Conisty is right now. So
hopefully it will be installed, hopefully potentially by the end of next week. Now, what I could do is take the old sign and lean it up against the bridge.
it's
You know.
because we are getting questions. Where are you?
Yep.
And then also, I would just as an observation, and I realize timing that you had the materials and everything, but changing the sign at the beginning and the height of the season was probably not the best idea. Because again, we have people coming in, this is our season, and they don't know where we are. I'm talking about, there was a question here. She was asking about contractors.
Right.
No, I'm talking about people who are looking to find Conisty Falls, whether it's a potential buyer, whether it is a contractor or anybody, because right now they can't find them. A couple of observations on the video. Just this is the first time I've seen them, so I have a couple of observations, if you don't mind. On the first video, you had anecdote quotes by residents. You had 5 men and 2 ladies. Again, we need to diversify a little bit. So I think that needs to be changed. There was also a comment that it's not just golf, and then you don't have any pictures of the golf. So these are just things from an observation. And then also on the trails, which, by the way, is one of the things that I have experienced, people coming in here because of our hiking trails, is that in the beginning of the video, there's a lot of writing. How many people think that they're going to read all that writing? So it's been my experience in marketing that you don't want to have as much prose, maybe have somebody read it, but they're not going to read it. But thank you for all of your work. I think we're all here basically because we want to be, and that's what makes Conistea unique. And I thank everybody for everything that they've done.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Linda. All right, I'm going to take one last question on this general, and then we're going to go into, well, maybe two. Two questions, one here, and then we're going to go into the next phase.
Hi, Jan Newsom. I've been in corporate life for about 25 years before coming here, and I understand the rebranding and all its advantages and the new fresh look. So I think it was a great idea. Now, I noticed in all your photos and a lot of things that you're doing for marketing, you're picturing waterfalls. We are the land of the waterfalls. So with the new rocks, it would be so unique and stand out so well if we had a waterfall coming through those rocks, just water that's recycled. I think it would just really make the look just really pop out, but that's your choice.
Jan, great minds think alike, if you will. We did consider waterfalls at the front gate. Couple factors. One was that, you know, there's water there. We could use Carolina water and cycle through with the pump. I mean, we thought about all these things, but at the end of the day, we thought a better position for a waterfall, and this is possibility, this isn't a promise, would be when the gate houses are remodeled, which they will be someday, we would move the waterfall back so that when visitors in particular pull into Conistea Falls and stop, they can enjoy that waterfall as opposed to having it right out by the road where people aren't going to have much time to acknowledge the investment that we made to put water there. So it is on the list of possibilities.
Hi, my name is Nancy Sharsick. I've lived here, I've owned here 31 years, served on the board. And when I served on the board, this building had not been completed yet. We were at college and there were 6 off-duty police officers at the back of the room. It was a very contentious time. Someone left a bag of dog poo at the bottom of my driveway. Yes, contentious it was. And I've served on the board and on many boards since then. But the one reason I raised my hand is you say, watch the video online. I don't have a good connection 100% of the time. I cannot watch the board meetings. I live in Qualla Village now. That's the 3rd location. I love Conistea Falls, but please, please do something about the internet connections. And also, somehow you have to get people to volunteer the way we used to volunteer. It's unfortunate that these newer people are coming in, but they're not volunteering. And it means so much to this community. It really does.
Nancy, if you send me an email, if you would, on your internet scenario, because that shouldn't be happening. It's got to be something specific to your unit. And I have some pull with Comporium. I can have them look at it again. Because it shouldn't be that you should have at least 200 at least.
So I do see a couple more hands raised, but there'll be an opportunity to ask some additional questions. We just want to move on to the next section of the meeting, which is the Activity and Wellness Center and Pool Enhancement Proposal Update. So
yes.
So before that, thank God they keep me honest. So we need to officially adjourn this meeting first. Do I have a motion? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
So the board meeting is officially adjourned, and those of you that would like to stay for the Activity and Wellness Center, please do so. Don't all rush out the door at once now. All right. Let it roll, Robert. What's that?
Okay, next slide.
Yeah, next slide. Thank you. So since we did the 3 preliminary presentations in May, there have been a few updates. So the first beginning with those 3 presentations that were done, we received probably about 200 or so correspondence, you say? So we're still getting through those. Thank you very much for those of you that submitted questions and comments. We hope to finish the last batch off in the next few days. Across the board, the majority of you sent in questions, comments, as well as pros and cons about this proposal. The May board business letter also addressed some of the decision-making behind getting us to the point of presenting the proposal to the membership. And we also distributed an interim frequently asked questions document that was a compilation of all the questions that we had received thus far. And we will update that and send out another version. So unfortunately, what we still don't know and why, a number of things. We've gone as far as we can with the proposal without incurring any significant costs. The next step would be the construction documents, which the estimate is about $135,000. The drawings, of course, will allow us to negotiate and determine a firm contract price. And then moving forward only as a result of member vote with the approval of the enhancement. So I'm going to give you a little more information that we hadn't shared previously with this level of detail. And finally, the other wild cards, the pandemic supply chain issues, Jim answered, Jim said earlier, if somebody could look into a crystal ball and let us know what the next 6 months to 5 years looks like, it would be great. So those are some wild cards that we'll be dealing with. So I'd first like to talk a little bit about some of the independent surveys that were done that Conisty participated in, as well as homeowner and home buyer surveys. So I'd like to start with the market amenities analysis, the competitive market amenities analysis that was done back in 2018. Now, for those of you not familiar with this study, this was done by an independent provider, and Conisty was compared to 14 other communities within the Western North Carolina area and some communities in Tennessee. We felt that that was the best one-to-one comparison that we could be compared to because, as you know, Conisty is unique and I think is the best place in the world. So hold on, Robert. So this was from the executive summary of that analysis. Conisty Falls Fitness Center has fallen even further below par with competitors in the market who are seizing upon this trend as a means to attract today's consumers and enhance their amenity packages. I'll let you finish reading the rest. Hopefully everyone can read that. Most competitors feature a variety of fitness for all levels of activity in addition to indoor pools. That is not an opinion that came from within Conisty. That came from the independent provider that did the analysis comparing Conisty to all of those other communities. Next slide, Robert. Also, what came out of that analysis, the current wellness center is Conisty Falls' biggest amenity deficit and should be a primary focus to future planning goals at Conisty Falls. And no surprise, our fitness center came out dead last when compared to the other 14 comparable communities. So the overall conclusion, again, from the independent providers, not the board's opinion or anybody that lives here. The recommended high-profile complex, a dedicated fitness center located amid a natural setting with windows featuring nature, water, vista views. And in addition, Conisty Falls should consider swimming pool options in future renovation or upgrade expansion plans to remain aligned with current future trends. So I know this chart is difficult to read, so there are a few things that I'd like to point out here. I took my cat's laser when I left the house and they all stood at the door like, why is she taking my toy? So the results on this graph here, and I'm going to take a few minutes to go over this, go back to 2014 through the end of 2021. And what these categories are, for those that can't see, it lists all the amenities that are offered in Conisty, starting from left to right with trails, tennis courts, pickleball, bocce, thank you, Robert, expanded additional parking, wellness center, expanded pool, update, golf course, clubhouse renovations, cell service, internet. Now, the question that was asked for this survey is, what would you as members want to see in Conisty Falls improved upon, despite the fact that it would increase your fees? Would you support it? And out of all of the items here, starting with the most response here was improved cell service. We've done what we can, and we'll continue to try to work with the cell service providers. The other, Robert, can you shrink it just a little bit so that I can see on the end here? The other items that were indicated as a priority was improved cable and TV service, which we addressed with the fiber optic installation on the west side of the community. And then here, the third most important one was the clubhouse renovation and addition, which has been addressed as well. So these are all the different years where members have indicated that they would like to see improvements. So after addressing the top priorities here, the next two that the majority of you said you wanted to see improvements were an expanded wellness center, fitness facility, and expanded pool facilities. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of the specific trends that came out of each of those surveys, starting with the next slide. So we've done a number of surveys over the years. We looked back, going back to 2014. So I'll start with the home buyer surveys because we also talk a little bit about the homeowner surveys. So the home buyer surveys, these surveys, as is the case with the previous survey, are done by independent third-party providers. A year-on-year comparison is done. And again, that expanded activity and wellness pool facility has been the third most important thing that the members want to see. It's been the most desired improvement after the ones that I mentioned on the previous slide have already been addressed. So the clubhouse renovation was addressed, the internet cable service was addressed, and not to repeat myself for the third time, but efforts related to cell phone service, we're doing all we can. Don't know what's happening with Verizon lately, but it seems like it's getting worse, at least for me in my house. So having addressed those priorities, it's a logical next step to address activity and wellness. So continuing on with the home buyer surveys, 2016, again, that recurring theme, enhancement of wellness center and pool area are consistent themes and should be a high priority for future facility upgrades. Again, this is coming from an independent provider. 2018 buyer surveys. The most desired community improvement indicated by home buyers was improved cell service, internet, followed by an expanded wellness fitness facility. That's trended higher for the 5th year in a row and should continue to be high on the list for the Strategic Planning Committee. The current Wellness Center is simply subpar and totally outdated with the competition and desires of today's most active adults. 2019, 2020, 2021. If you can read through those comments there. The only change was in 2021 was a slight downturn in data for an expanded wellness and pool facilities. And we're assuming that that was directly a result of the pandemic. But there's an expectation that those numbers should start to trend back up given the shift to a younger demographic. So I'm going to switch to the homeowner surveys now. So going back to 2016, surprise, surprise, it was done by an independent third-party provider. 63.9% agreed that Coniston should continue to improve and invest in facilities, even if it means raising the annual assessments. 67% want to keep the wellness center fee-based, even if it was expanded. You know, 2018 survey conducted and compiled by an independent third-party provider. 60% indicated interest in expanded activity and wellness center as a freestanding facility with more equipment and dedicated rooms for classes and resident club activities. Low perceived value of the current facility and outdated by fitness trends, and an expanded pool facility ranked among the top 5 suggestions for improvement. And in the most recent survey, which you can find online with all the other surveys that have been done the last few years, the response to this question, what would you like to see improved in Coniston Falls? We had 700 written responses, of which 120 of them specifically were in support of a new updated activity and wellness facility. And then there was 60 plus specific written responses in support of a new improved year-round pool experience. The response to this question, what activities might your household members be interested in that are currently not available in Coniston? Again, we had written responses, 536 of them, 45 plus specifically in support of a new activity and wellness center, expanded wellness offerings, and 75 specifically in support of that year-round pool experience as well. So what I wanted to share among the roughly 200 and something communications that we receive from members, and we really appreciate you taking the time to write in, because if we don't hear from you, other than these surveys and the guidance that we get from the strategic plan, we really don't know what you're looking for. So I appreciate you taking the time to write in. However, I wanted to include 2 comments from members in the recent board correspondence that completely contradict each other, just so that you get an idea of the fact that we're trying to manage and balance the priorities of the majority of this community. But when you have 1,432 homes, last we counted, that's roughly 2,500 different opinions. So again, we listen and we try to make the decisions based on what the majority want. So I'd like to read this if you don't mind. So this was something that was written into us about a week and a half ago. Finally, I think it would be beneficial to stress to the existing residents that this money in the amenity fund is set aside for this type of project. We have the money to do this project now because of their contributions. If not this project now, when? If they want to see the benefits of their contributions to the amenity fund, this is the project for them to see those benefits. Otherwise, those funds will continue to sit, earning potentially less than inflation, and will be spent by future property owners down the road when we are gone, on a project current residents won't ever benefit from? Why not experience the benefits those funds can make in our neighborhood now, instead of deferring them to another generation of property owners to spend and enjoy, especially if we can do so responsibly while maintaining adequate reserves for future needs? I think that is a perspective few have taken time to consider. And we received this one probably about 2 hours after we received the previous one. My greatest concern with moving forward with a project of this magnitude and expense is the timing. We are still recovering from an unprecedented 2-year shutdown of our economy, and the restart is rocky at best. The threats of future lockdowns are still not off the table for some areas. The stock market is crashing. Our economy is teetering on collapse. There appears to be page 13 of 2A recession looming, and what? And you are unable to find employees to fill the positions already needed within the community. The cost of materials has skyrocketed and labor costs are through the roof. Is this really the best time for us to get the most out of our investment, just to not be able to open the doors due to lack of employees or more invasive mandates? So I bring this up because when you consider this proposal, I'd like you to look at it from the standpoint of whether or not it's a true benefit for the entire community. I know that's hard. Personally, I've never used the pool, but I totally support any enhancement to the pool. I understand how important that is. So many of you have written in and said, I really need to exercise and stay active 12 months out of the year, and year-round swimming is really important to me. I don't play golf. I don't use the East Fork Gate, but my HOA fees go to support those that man that gate, maintain that gate. So we really need to look at this collectively as whether or not it's a betterment for the majority of the community. I think that's all I've got on the specific survey information. I'm going to turn it over to Jim, and then we'll open it up to a final Q&A. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Mary. So as Mary said, we've had a couple hundred questions. Most of the questions all sort of revolve around similar categories. So instead of answering each question specifically, we categorize them into these categories so that we could sort of talk in general. So the first one is the amenity fee reserve versus annual assessment. I think there's still some confusion about how this project would potentially be financed. So currently, I'm going to say currently, 5 million, give or take. We have about $5 million in the amenity reserve currently. Through the whole process of this project from start to finish, this would be financed through the amenity reserve, and the amenity reserve balance would never go below $2.5 million, I believe. I don't have the chart in front of me, but I think that's correct.
And how does it get funded?
And that gets funded by every time all of you are sitting in this room, you've already paid it. Anywhere from $10,000 currently to some of you may have paid, someone who's been here 30 years ago may have only paid 1,000. I don't even know what the number was 30 years ago. So all this money is basically your money and any future or any buyer that's purchased over the last few years. Some of that money is someone who may have bought 5 years ago and it's already moved out. They paid the $10,000 and their money's still sitting in there. So you're spending their money as well. But 100% of this project would be financed through the amenity fund. There'd be no special assessment. The only impact or the potential impact would be obviously the operating cost would increase once everything is completed, which would be probably 2024. And our best guess right now is around $150,000 more per year in operating overhead, which roughly is $100 to $125 per home here within the community. So we had that question asked numerous different ways, but I'm trying to answer it in the most simple way of saying the money is basically already there, and that's where the financing of the project would come from. The second category was a future annual assessment discussed. We do have some other things that we've talked about that we might have to talk about even going into next year's budgetary process with the current inflation and supply chain issues and so forth. Those continue. There might be a significant impact going into next year of the annual assessment, and we understand that that's a emotional thing to see continue to go up. So but we do have some options because we are in a strong financial position. So we will be looking at that as well. Similar to the quote that Mary put, we have had not just that, we've had that one, but handful or more that's specifically talking about the economy, not the project itself, but is this the right time to be doing a project? I don't know if there's ever a perfect time to do a project like this, but the good news, if there is any good news, is that some costs are continuing to start dropping now. Wood has almost cut in half compared to what it was a year ago. I don't know if anyone read this morning. I think it was this morning, yesterday morning, I was reading iron ore almost went down 20% overnight because China's not building as quick as they were. So the steel is probably going to go down as well. So there might be some advantages to building in this economy as well. But again, I can't control that. We can't control that, but that is one of the concerns. Operating principles, this goes back to sort of what Mary talked about. We are a community with numerous amenities and not everyone participates in everything. So we have been getting quite a few emails about the fact that, they'll never use a wellness center. They'll never use a pool. We shouldn't be doing it because I don't use it. But that's sort of against our principles of how we manage the overall community. We try to do, maintain all of our amenities for all residents to enjoy, and everyone chips into it their portion. Overall costs and controlling costs. Some are concerned about the possibility of how do we know that we can do the project if it gets approved for $6 million and all of a sudden it comes in at $7 million. Well, if that happened, we couldn't start the project. We would stop and have to go back out either to regroup or go back out for another vote of some sort. But the project itself could not continue if we cannot do it within the approved amount that was approved by you, the members.
Tell Robert, go back a slide.
Oh, we got to go back one more slide. Sorry, we skipped too quick. Oh, there you go. Thank you. So there would be a cap. When the vote would go out, it would say up to amount, and we could not exceed that amount without going back to the members if we end up not being able to do it for the cost that was approved. Financing, there's a lot of questions on the financing portion of it. The logic we have is that, continuing using the amenity fee makes sense. In this way, the people that are coming in after you also would pay a portion of this project as well. Our stress test on that is very low in the sense of, I think we're using less than 70 units a year to start replenishing the amenity fund. I think the worst year we ever had was in 2008-9. There might have been a couple of years where it was in the 20s. But if you look back over a 20-year period, the average has been at least 80. It's more like 100 homes that have resold on a given year. So we think the risk factor there is very, very low for that to occur. Lower cost options. Obviously, there's a lot of comments in there about different things. Do you need the second floor? Can we do just a first floor unit and just have the fitness and classroom and not have the activity room upstairs and the meeting rooms? Those are things we always look at. My commentary, I think I said the last meeting, it's very rare that you build a project, especially in communities, whether it's a clubhouse or whether it's a activity center, and people 2 years later, 5 years later, saying it's too big. That normally doesn't happen. And your cost of building it now is always going to be cheaper than it's going to be 5 years from now. Membership costs, I think we answered that pretty well in the FAQ last time. We don't have the exact information there how we'll handle that, but the idea and concept is that it would cost anyone who's a current wellness member less going forward than it does now. And at least the equipment side of it would be open to all residents for a very low fee. So now we go to the next slide, Robert, sorry. Do we need the meeting space? And, I think I don't go on Nextdoor, but I think there's been some stuff on Nextdoor about, analyzing this room, that room, that room, that room. That's all well and good as looking at space, but these rooms weren't designed per se for like meetings, especially any type of private meetings or meetings that you have in small groups. And just like today, I think as soon as we get out of this meeting, this room will be flipped over again twice, I think, because we have a music group here later and then another group out thereafter. And then I think, next week or the week after, we have this room be taken up for a week or so almost, because the Cats will be starting their rehearsals, and then I think, well, Jan can tell me whenever it is, July, right? First week of July, I think. So, there's always useful rooms. And again, if you're building 9 or 10,000 or 11,000 square feet, to add another 500 square feet on it is very cheap up front, as opposed to waiting and doing it later. So the location, we only had a couple on that. As we know, the location's across the street. Some were wondering why we dropped the idea of the one on the side of the building. And basically it really comes down to a cost perspective. It would be approximately $100 more a square foot to build on that site because of the way that land is the infrastructure you'd have to put in to handle a 3-story building. So the location was chosen mostly on a cost basis, and also be on a location right next to the clubhouse would be good. Concern or question about the Coniston Falls Firehouse availability. As some of you know, or hopefully many of you know, the Coniston Fire Department has purchased a piece of property on the corner of 276. And they are going to hopefully start building potentially in 3 years or so. It depends on who you talk to. The land has been purchased and paid for, but there is no funding currently for building the structure itself, which they're estimating, I think, at $3 million, give or take. So somewhere along the line, whether it be in, I hate to say it, whether it be in your, we're talking about assessments here, but whether it be in your tax base here, as a Transylvania County resident, they have to find a way to get those funds to be able to build the firehouse. So we still think that's 3 to 5 years out. We do have an agreement. Well, the agreement when we sold the land to the fire district was that if and when they move, we have first right of refusal for that. And the way it reads is that it's a fair market value. Exactly what that means, we're still to be determined. If you go on the county website, they're saying the fair market value of that appraised value is $967,000, I think, which sounds crazy to me. But so anyway, we do have the ability to purchase that, but it is a negotiation, and it's to be determined whether we would want to buy it or not based on that amount of money. Parking. As you know, we've already built the other parking lot down below. We also have the opportunity potentially to build another parking lot across the street from the pool area, because we own a couple lots over there as well. So we believe there's enough parking for capacity. Staffing is always an issue right now. Hopefully, if and when this project got approved and we're 2 years out, hopefully staffing issues will improve by then. Unfortunately, what I'm seeing in the world today, staffing and issues and like this might solve itself here in 3 to 6 months the way the economy is going. So we'll have to see. The pool. So after we had our meeting a couple weeks ago, there's a lot of chatter about the pool. Number one, the size of the proposed pool, whether it be covered or not covered, if it's covered, can it be a retractable cover versus a fixed cover? So we are reinvestigating all those options right now. The one I can answer right now is the proposed new pool would be, I'm going to use 50%, but it's technically 47% bigger than the current one. So 1.5 times the size, basically, of the current pool. There are pluses and minuses to all the different potential options if we want to make it a year-round pool. There's costs associated with each one of those options. And then there's actually usefulness during those, because there are some things that impact how you can use the pool when you're retracting the roof or the sides. That does impact potentially the enjoyability of using the pool. They have done some better design work in the last year or so, since the one in Highlands was built a few years ago. So it is a little bit more convenient, but there's still pros and cons. We just met with the representatives last Wednesday, Chip Webb and Walter and myself from the FPC. So we need to regroup and look at all those, and we're still waiting for some numbers associated with that. And then once we have all that, the FPC will make a recommendation both to the board and probably the finance committee as well to look at those proposals and make a recommendation, final recommendation on the project to the board. So that's really the only pool update I have. And I can tell you, you know, that's probably the biggest thing that we're getting as far as comments about the pool. And they're split right down the middle of people who say, you know, it shouldn't be covered or it should be covered. So we need to understand the numbers and the actual, you know, system itself and how it works better before we can make a recommendation on that. So that sort of is a general gist of all the questions. I mean, obviously some were more direct than others, some were more emotional than others. And I try to keep the emotion out of it as much as we can. But I think the good thing is that we did say we are taking a step back from our original timeline and looking at what all our options are, especially around the pool, so that we can come with a plan that we think the overall community can support. So with that, we will open it for questions, I believe, right? I don't think I have another slide, do I? Oh, next step. Sorry. Yes.
So,
sorry. You have a question? Go ahead. You can.
No, can everybody just stand at the mic? Is there an issue with just having the microphone?
Well, let me just go ahead and finish. So, so the Activity and Wellness Center itself, the actual building itself, we haven't made any real changes to. We talked about the pool enhancement. We're still working on that. So based on all this, we don't have a date per se set yet for the final proposal to be presented. But we're hoping, you know, in the next month or so that we'll be able to come back with another presentation for the whole shebang, both the Activity and Wellness Center and the pool. Once we have that, we'll have a final FAQ, and then we will talk about dates and potentially how to vote on this project going forward. So with that, we'll open the questions. And again, if you can get up and go to the microphone, that would be great. It is on. Just try to get close. Whoever.
My name is Chuck Walsey. Madam President, I need to ask you something. When you showed the survey, you showed that 200 people were in favor out of 700 of the activity center. Is that correct?
No, actually, they took the time to put specific comments about the activity center. It doesn't say that they're in favor.
What good does a comment do when you need numbers? If that number was 200 that made comments and there were 300 that said I'm in favor of it, that would be 500. So then it would be good for you to go ahead with the deal. But if 200 people say out of the 700 and 1,400 that you submitted, the numbers don't work to build an activity center.
Well,
you're going to get it turned down at the regular meeting when you have the vote.
And that is the purpose, right? We move forward with the proposal, and then ultimately it's up to the community by vote to go ahead and say whether they support it or not. Well, how else would we find out?
There you go, right there. You just answered your own question. How would we know to go ahead with it?
You don't.
The majority of the people don't ask or answer or give you a positive feedback. What's the sense?
Right, yeah, right.
I voted.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but you can't assume that the people that didn't fill a
Yeah,
survey out or didn't make a comment are in favor or not in favor. You don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So
That's the thing.
okay. Thanks.
Well, I want to clarify one thing.
Your name, please?
I'm sorry, Fran Black.
Fran.
Yeah. I want to clarify one thing first, and then I want to express my concerns. And the one thing I want to clarify is from what you just said, I'm getting the impression that the pool would not be where the pool is now, that it would be in
No, the pool's in the same location, just
in the same location. So then during this project, we wouldn't have a pool. Is that what you're saying?
no, the plan and hope would be to start the pool project if it gets approved sometime in October or November and be open sometime in May. So yeah, you would lose some portion of the pool, but it'd normally be when it's closed anyway.
Okay.
I guess that answered my second question then.
Okay.
So I'm good.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Fran.
Sterling Post, love Conisty Falls, and I'm all for improvement.
Great.
My concern is the magnitude of this project, both the wellness center and the pool. And there's too many too many variables that aren't decided yet, but I think it really needs to be 2 votes, one for the wellness center and one for the pool. Only because of the magnitude and importance of this improvement. Second of all, well, just one final comment, the pool's a hot mess now. We got so many people in there who aren't owners. They're not even supposed to be here. There's no aid, there's no assistance.
How do you know they're not owners? Just curious.
Talk to her. She lives on East Fork. She brings her grandkids in. She has no sticker in her truck, in the thing, there's no decal. It's just assumption. She might be, I don't know. She might pay the, whatever it is. But there's a lot, and there's kids doing backflips off the side. There's kids climbing up the covered structure there. There needs to be an attendant there. I understand the lifeguard issue, but attendant needs to be there. Because, one of the number one rules of the pool is sign in. There's no sign in sheet. And then there's just no, and thank goodness for Ann Phillips, who works very hard to keep that pool clean and clean up there. People are trashing the place and they're just leaving their trash everywhere. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Sterling.
Hi, my name's David Lacter. My wife and I have been homeowners here for 23 years. And 23 years ago, we were probably the youngest people here. Now we're not so much anymore. I've got the question, how many part-time residents live here, percentage-wise? Do any board members know that?
Right now, it's 60% of the community
So
lives
more
at
than half.
full-time and 40% part-time.
Okay, so
But that's a
almost-
shift from just 5 years ago. It was actually about 50-50, but now it's shifting the other way, right, Jim? 60-40?
It's around 60% full-time, 40 part-time right now.
We have watched over the 23 years, nothing but improvements. And I think that's what makes Conisty beautiful. The roads are always maintained. Everything is exceptional. And the question I have for the board, and it's always seems to be very vague answers. I use the Wellness Center. As a part-time resident, we're here now for 3 months, so I joined for 3 months. We come back all year round, and if I'm back here for 2 weeks, it's $10 every time I come into the Wellness Center. So this is an all-inclusive community, other than the golf course, which is totally understandable. Not so much the Wellness Center. I keep saying that should be part of the community, part of our amenities. And I keep getting vague responses. Today, even one of the, there might be a slight fee. Is that monthly? Is that year round? I just don't get the answers I'm looking for.
So the current plan would be to have an annual fee of approximately $75 each year, which is basically the same thing you do now, where you fill out the form each year, release the liability, medical questionnaire, blah, blah, blah. And that would be, so let's just take a date. So January 1st, you get charged out if you want to use the Wellness Center, and then you get charged again next year for the
Well,
same thing.
thank you. That's clarification
Yep.
I've never heard
Yep.
before.
Now, the classes would still be. on
Classes
top.
are
Right,
different. but
correct.
To use the facility,
Yeah, but use the facility-
$75 a
correct.
year.
That's what we're currently forecasting.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, David.
Right, and we'd have a key fob system for all the people that sign up for that administrative fee, and they'd have a key fob to use the facility.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, I'm Debbie Morden Henryan, and I've been standing here in a wet bathing suit for almost 2 hours. So
It's
you
cold in
might
here.
be able to guess I probably will vote for the improvements. I appreciate the work that you all have done on the wellness and pool. I believe that the information, sometimes when you communicate, you need to, and I look forward to more transparency and communication on items like this from the get-go, because I believe, wasn't there a question on the questionnaire, the survey about the wellness center and about the pool? It wasn't that addressed in the survey? So you had there is a number to that question, not just the additional comments.
Oh,
yeah, there was. So you had, that's because I believe you said there was 67%.
Yeah.
Of the community responded that they wanted improvements.
Yeah.
And that wasn't those additional comments. That was separate from the additional
Yeah.
comments. So that's where the numbers
yeah.
show up.
That was just a general question, not specific about any
Yeah.
particular project. Just in
Right.
general,
Right.
supportive of continuing to
Right.
improve. Correct.
So I just know that you were acting on those numbers in putting the information together. So if that's communicated, so that's why I say if things are communicated better from the get-go, it might solve some of these problems that come up.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Deb.
Hello, Craig Wilson. My wife and I have owned here since 2014, and we're full-time for the last couple of years. I think a very nice job on the Activity and Wellness Center. I like the location. I like the plans. I have about 50 years experience in the construction business. I think the job is well thought out. The pool, I will say about the access to that, the contractor's going to need those parking spaces immediately adjacent to where the site is. They're not going to be able to stage down below. They got to get their equipment up there next to the building. So that needs to be thought out. Maybe get a six-pack golf cart or something to shuttle people on busy days.
Yep.
The pool. I use the pool. I've got a daughter that lives here, got 3 grandkids that live here. There's a lot of kids using the pool. I think we need that existing pool as a summer pool. And we need an additional pool that's a covered pool, that's a year-round pool for lap swimmers, fitness classes, whatever. But from a construction perspective, the likelihood of building a new covered pool in the same location where that pool is now and getting it done in 9 months is a dream. It's probably going to take a year or a year and a half, and you're going to lose the use of that pool for, I think, a full summer. And I think you need to consider that with the demand there is, we're trying to get more people to move here, and you're going to be building new houses in here, more people coming. There's a lot of rentals. You need more pool space. I think it justifies taking a serious look at building a covered pool next to the one that exists. And I'd like you to consider that going forward with your planning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Some of my, Sabrina Muma, I've been here since 2018. Some of my questions were quasi-answered by the questions ahead of me. Was curious about what is the ratio of full-time versus part-time. I would be very curious as to whether or not there is anybody else in this room who lives here full-time that is on a fixed income. Thank you. Yes, because I don't think our needs are being addressed. All of your surveys were talking about nature and walking trails and all of this, so important. Yet we're trying to get more people to move in here and build. That doesn't make sense to me. And I know this might come as a shock. There's not a lot of people wearing masks today, but all of the information that was on your charts and what have you, everything from 2014 to 2019, we need to just take a black magic marker and mark it out. We don't live in that world anymore, people. We don't live in that world. So what was important to a prospective home buyer on a yes, no, check off the box survey in 2014 is not relevant today. We need to reevaluate how we're spending our money. Some of the things in the budgets over the last couple of years, I just shake my head and say, why? The last one I voted for when I got to the part where it says we're giving our employees a minimum wage of $15 an hour. That was the selling point on last year's budget, as far as I'm concerned. If we're talking security, if we're talking maintaining what we have in this gorgeous community. Maintenance guys need new trucks, all about it. Yes, let's do that. We need heavy equipment to maintain what we've got. Yes. A covered pool? Seriously? So we can have a bunch of kids come in here and scream Marco Polo how many times? You can't use the pool in the summer unless your little ones are you're screaming Marco Polo. So let's look very carefully at what we're spending money on. Very, very carefully on this, because it's not making sense in today's world. And the question and answers that you had here on, let's see, what day was that? June 6th. A new wellness experience has been cited as a top priority for both member and new buyer servers every year since 2014. Once again, everything 19, forget it. A lot of these questions were not answered in this form. How much will a membership to the new activity and wellness center cost?
We just
Anybody?
answered that.
75. Okay, what did they put down? For those who wish to use the new activity and wellness fitness equipment, there will be a nominal annual administrative fee per membership. It does not answer the question. If you knew it was going to be 75, put it in the
We
answer.
didn't say that we know it's going to be 75. We're anticipating that it's
Oh, so
going to
the
be.
answer to that is still, we don't know.
Oh, okay. First off, Sabrina, I would appreciate it if you speak to me without an attitude. I understand you're frustrated, but I'd like to keep this civil.
Okay.
So if there's anyone in this room who could look into a crystal ball and say, I know exactly what my operating expenses are going to be 24 months from now, that would be wonderful. So right now, all we can tell you is that there's $5.7 million already in the amenity fund, and that will go to fund the entire cost of this proposal.
That's
Going
good.
forward, we need to figure out and estimate as best we can how much the operating expenses will be to run this new activity and wellness center and pool. Now, I'm just going to give an example here. Say, for example, if the nominal fee is $50 and classes, unlimited classes is 50, if every member looking at $100 a year says, okay, you know what, I'll join, say 1,500 members join, that's $150,000 that goes towards the operating expenses. It winds up costing us $150 to run it. Guess what? Then the HOA fee doesn't get increased. So we don't know that. We don't know right now. We're looking at a number of different things. Our finance committee has been looking at estimates, looking at other communities and what they spend in operating costs. So I apologize if you think that we're being deceitful or if there's any question about our integrity. We're trying to prepare you as best as we can for how this is going to affect you going on. And
Because I heard- Go ahead.
no, and certainly if you have specific questions that you don't feel are being answered, I would encourage you to write in. Like I said, we do the best we can with what we have.
Exactly.
But, you know, we don't have a crystal ball, and you can appreciate it's difficult to make everyone happy, especially with so many people, you know, but I appreciate you being, you know, being honest And you also asked a question when you first started about the number of residents that live here full-time. That 60% versus 50 now. So there are versus 50% people living here full-time just a few years ago. Did you have any other questions or comments?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hey, Ann.
Hi, good afternoon. For those who don't recognize me or know me, my name is Ann Phillips. My husband and Ron and I have been residents here since 2013. I am often mistaken as someone who works from town. As of 2014, I have been teaching the bulk of the group exercises classes, including aquatics. When I received the email with the generally asked questions, I looked at the fourth question, which read, will more classes be offered as part of this new activity and wellness center? The answer was yes. Once members have approved the proposal and construction is underway, we will begin working on new class offerings. My question to the board and management is who is going to be teaching all these new classes? Where are you going to find qualified and dependable instructors in these areas, especially in the specialized field of aquatics? As a Coniston Falls instructor, I am required to be certified, have emergency response training, and provide my own liability insurance, all which I purchase out of pocket. Currently, if any of our group exercise instructors go on vacation or are sick, classes are canceled due to no substitutes available. I have received calls as far away as from Lake Toxaway asking me to come up and teach water aerobics. My husband and I are retiring soon, and I'm looking forward to traveling and enjoying our home in Coniston Falls. So in the near future, I am intending to be teaching less instead of more.
My name is Jim Gillespie. My wife and I have been coming here since 1986. I understand how much work y'all have put into this. My only suggestion would be is to not lump it all into one up or down vote. I think it needs to be split into two votes. The first would be the Wellness Center, up or down. The second one would have three choices for the pool. No pool improvements at all. Renovate the pool, expand the pool, no enclosure. And the third would be renovate the pool with an enclosure. But you only get one choice out of those three. That way you know for sure how the owners really feel about it. Because I think right now what you're going to see with this all lumped together, there's going to be a lot of no votes from either side because they don't want to, have certain parts of it and give the owners a choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Hi, my name is Steve Seelinger, and I want to express a concern in what I have seen in the 18 years that I've watched boards develop projects to do something with the Wellness Center. This community is 0 wins, 3 losses over 18 years. For 18 years, I've used that facility and I've watched boards try to develop plans for a new wellness center. Once they've come up for a vote, but twice more boards have just lost heart. They've tweaked the design and they tweaked some more. And they've delayed it and they've delayed it some more. And ultimately, the composition of the board changes and the enthusiasm for the project wanes. The inertia just builds. And finally, there's nothing. And that's what we've got right now, and nothing. You folks are to be commended because this is an outstanding project. Now have the courage to bring it to closure and let us vote on it.
Thank you, Steve.
Good afternoon. My name is Rick, Rick Smith. My wife and I moved here April of last year.
Welcome.
So what I've learned here today is we're rebranding We're marketing. We don't have a lot of new home sites to build houses on. We don't have a lot of inventory in houses to sell. We have 536 written respondents by a third-party marketing firm. 50 said that they want to see a wellness center built, 75 pool. That's 10 to 15%. So my question is, who are we marketing to here? The owners in this room who want a nice community on a mountaintop in the forest in North Carolina with some nice amenities? Or are we expanding this to somebody different that we want to market to? Corporate meetings, people from coming in and using our facilities, paying for it, I'm sure. So that's my question. What's the end game here? What's the end game for the owners in this room and for this community? Thanks.
So trying to figure out how to answer that question.
Yeah.
There's multiple questions, I think, within the question, but the general answer to that is you're always marketing to outside because you have to continue to replenish your sales. There's always going to be sales. In general, again, the markets have been very unusual lately, but in general, a community like this is going to have 5% turnover every year. I think Jordan and Linda would probably agree, give or take. Historically, that's normal in a community. So you're always going to have 80 to 100 new people coming in here every year. So you got to continue to try to attract those people. The second question or comment you made is not accurate in the sense that there is still 200 roughly privately owned lots, and the POA owns over 300. Probably roughly 300 to 400, maybe 300, 200 to 300, give or take, or what you'd call okay buildable. The rest of them probably aren't. So give or take, you're still going to have another 300 to 400 homes in here over the next, whatever that is, 15 or 20 years, because in average, we've averaged about 20 to 25 a year being built. So there is potential that you're going to have another 20 to 25% population growth within the community that you can't control. Those sales are going to happen one way or the other. I can't remember what the last, so the end goal.
Is the end goal for the wellness pool for attracting new buyers?
Oh, no, I mean, obviously a new wellness center or pool would probably help attract new buyers, but we're doing it more based on what the input so far from the community internally has been asking for. But obviously would help market the community as a whole. Go ahead, John.
Thank you. John Hallamore. I support that we look at this audience and see what they want since we're paying the bills. We've had a lot of focus studies in the last number of years, and I don't think they've turned out right. From the clubhouse originally to the wellness center, we've had great sales. I think it's more based on the economy, people wanting to live here. It's a beautiful community. So I don't put too much emphasis on the outside. My main point, and probably only point, is talking the financial end of the construction project. And I've made some suggestions. I've sent them in.
Yep.
I am real concerned that we don't borrow money or put the association at risk. I think that is putting it at risk. Our economy again is maybe going the wrong direction. We might benefit from a recession because construction costs may go down. But my point would be just simply this: pay as you go, phase your work, decide what you want done first. The pool and the wellness center, activity center, I don't believe can be done at the same time just based on staging.
No, cannot.
You don't want to have this whole place torn up. So decide what you want first. Say, look, we'll do this until we run out of money, whether it be the shell of the building. Don't buy all the equipment at one time if it's concerning the wellness center. Shift your fitness equipment over. So just watch the money. And don't borrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deborah Paratori, and I know that there's been a lot of comments today about the operating costs of the whole fitness center and the pools. You estimate 150,000. You're projecting now 150,000 add-on to the current budget, operating budget, and I'm just wondering, how you figured that, what was in that cost? Because I'm assuming there's going to be additional heating,
Right.
air conditioning.
Yep. So it's labor. I mean, we looked at the main fact, labor, utilities, insurance, maintenance, cleaning, so forth.
And you're probably going to have more staff, I'm
Right.
assuming.
Correct. And that was part of it as well.
How do we get only 150,000 for, are you looking at additional fees?
Well, that's what Mary mentioned as well. I mean, depending on how many people pay the administrative fee and all that, it may end up being a wash. It may end up costing less than 100. You don't know until you're further along, to be honest with you. So that's all we can do right now is give a best guess of what we think it will cost.
And is there some sort of a budget that all of the members could receive?
Yeah,
to
we can
see
put
how
that
you
in.
came
Yep,
to?
we'll put that in the next FAQ. We have a breakdown of where we think those costs are. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for hearing me.
Thanks, Dolores.
Hi, Jan Newsom. Of course, I did send in my 2 pages of questions and you hit on most of them, which was pretty good. And I think one of the most important ones was for owners to know what it's actually going to cost them, and that when we do have a vote, that there is a cap, that if the project, we agree to 5 million or 6 million,
Yep.
we don't go forward and say, well, everybody wants it, but it turned out to be 7 million, so we now finance more. But one of my questions is on the pool. We are kind of looking at the Grand Highlands. So I did speak with them a bit about the pool and got some information. And out of curiosity, I asked them, do they get many people to utilize the pool during the winter time? And the gal said, not really. And I said, well, I don't know what that relates to in numbers. So she says, well, we just don't have that many people. And I said, well, January, February, March, would you say you have 25 people or less? She said, well, somewhere around there. So my concern is this extra expense.
Right.
Is it necessary if we're going to have, 10 people or so? And also with the photo that was provided, you got the ends of the pool have that structure.
Right.
So it seems that the children will be in the middle jumping in from the sides. And that gentleman was correct, David, about the Marco Polo and all the kids coming in from out of the area. I was there a weekend ago and there was a family there. I didn't talk to them. I have to assume they don't live here, whether they're renting, I don't know. But they came to the pool and utilized it in street clothes. They were not in any kind of bathing attire. The husband, who was quite a large fellow, diving in the pool at all the time and the jumping, and it's just not enjoyable to the owners. If we're going to spend $2 million, the owners want to be able to enjoy the pool. So we have to set up a little bit more regulations or an attendant, like, to make sure things go along the way they should. Right, thanks.
Thanks, Jan.
Thanks, Jan.
Nancy Sperling. I have a comment and a question. My comment is, I really think that we need to start doing things more sustainably. I think we need solar energy or some kind of energy that we can get the federal tax credits, even if we just do it over the parking lots or something like that. We have to be inventive in this because it could save us a lot of money. We could charge all the golf carts or something, we could have EV stations that people could come in and charge, but we have to start doing something that will go forward with what this economy and country is going to be like. And I know before you were not hiring people from Conisty, and I think now with the difficulty of getting people to come and work, I mean, gas is $5 a gallon, nobody's going to want to come here. So we might want to consider hiring people here from Conisty. The last time we tried to get this clubhouse going, I know you weren't here at the time, but there was a polar energy there, people that could afford it and wouldn't blink an eye with putting $200 or $300 more in the assessment. And then people were thinking, I don't have the money for that. You know, I'd like to spend that someplace else. So I think we have to consider that with any of our voting, that we do have people that really can afford it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do the wellness center at all. I'm just saying that we have to consider those people in it, and the voting has to go with that.
Right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Nancy.
Hello? Oh, it looks like we're starting to lose people. Can't believe it.
Hi, I'm Ray Tours. I've been a full-time resident for 25 years. To me, Mr. Woolsey's comment was the most important point that I heard here, and that is that the numbers don't seem to add up on your most recent survey. I forget the year it was.
Oh, it looks like we're starting to lose people.
The turnout was.
Can't believe it.
Hi, I'm Ray Tours. I've been a full-time resident for 25 years. To me, Mr. Woolsey's comment was the most important point that I heard here, and that is
And it was early on, it was a very contentious time. We were on, I won't go in.
Sounds like it's all.
I really think that maybe you should consider having a booklet, a meeting, somehow so that the new residents realize what some of our older residents have done to make it what it is today. Again, it was a very contentious time. Outdoor play was not allowed. And if you lived here in Coniston, you could go out and play anytime. And we paid, or the owners paid. The other thing was a lot of they sold the lots and those lots were turned back in. And when they turned them back in, they had to pay the back assessments. And when we got here, we realized that our assessment that we paid annually did not cover the annual expenses, because what they were doing was they were taking the money that was coming in to cover and when we talked about, well, we need to have an amenity fund, we need to have a secure amount to cover some things. And it took a while. I mean, it was contentious. I was in court 3 times. Back then, for $250, you could file a lawsuit. And again, the board, all of you were sitting on the courthouse. Thank God it's changed. It's a wonderful place. But the people who now are moving in, they need to know more about what this place is and was. And another point is when you go to have a vote, according to the state law and our documents, it must be a mail-in vote. I'm not the only one that does not get emails. I didn't have copies of that. I didn't even know about the meeting that you had in May. You know where your email went? To my spam folder. You know, yes, somebody, we need another tower. You built something for Walnut Hollow. There are those of us who have intermittent cell service, and I wouldn't be able to vote. Tell me that makes sense. It doesn't.
Thank you, Nancy.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, well, appreciate everyone coming out. Stay tuned. Hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll get some more communication of the next meeting, and we'll probably see you all then. Thanks for hanging out for so long today. Thanks for your patience.
Oh, yeah.